Hey YouTubers, and welcome back to another Dragon Ball Super discussion and or theory video, I guess. I mean, take it as you want. You saw what you looked on, you clicked on it, you did everything that you could in order to watch this video. And today, before we get started, I just want to introduce my guest, someone who's been on here quite a few times recently, Dimizy from Dimizy's Domain. Dimizy, what's up, man?
Not much, man. I'm just happy to be here. And yes, let's get a really good video on the...
Yeah, this is like the third time that we've actually tried to start this video. I'm like all over the place today, guys. Anyway, so I just wanted to kind of put it out there, guys. So we know Kaba from Universe 6. He's a Universe 6 Saiyan, Universe 7 Saiyan's bad, Universe 6 Saiyan's good. What if, and this is a big what if, it might be wrong going forward, but what if Kaba is wrong about the Universe 6 Saiyans being good, and they're basically the same kind of doppelganger that Frost was to Frieza from Universe 6 and Universe 7, and instead of them just being good, they have kind of that, like veil over them that makes them seem good, or they think they're good, or anything, but really they're just like Frost soldiers for hire, the same way that Saiyans in Universe 7 were for Frieza and all that other stuff. And here's my thought is, and it would be a really cool retcon to the series and kind of give a little bit backstory of why exactly, just because, Vegeta being basically the last remaining real Saiyan and all this, and he's the one who understands their hierarchy, he's the prince, he was well educated, he understands their myths, mythologies, and all this other stuff. He was even able to meet Beerus as a kid. What if it would be really cool of a retcon to be like, well, Kaba is not royalty, he's not necessarily someone who's going to go out there and be like, okay, like, this is this. He might be even uneducated to a point where you would imagine like most other Saiyans in Universe 7 were. So what if they go in and retcon it and be like, okay, Vegeta understands that they fought for Frieza. Vegeta understood their true nature, but all the other Saiyans in Universe 7 thought that they were the good guys. And, you go back and you retcon it to the point where, like, Vegeta knew that Frieza blew up their planet, but when we met Raditz, he was like, okay, well, a meteorite blew up our planet and everything, and he knew the truth because probably he'd be hanging out with Vegeta. I don't know. Like, we need to retcon something here in order to make it work. But I just think it'd be really cool if, the Universe 6 Saiyans are actually bad people, but they think they're good people. Dimizy, what do you think about that?
I agree. If I were to give or draw some parallels for those of you who watch other anime, let's look at Attack on Titan. You see the top officials, the higher ups, they essentially are doing evil, but they think it's for the greater good. It's a trope that we see in a lot of media, whether it be TV or anime. I think that it would be really interesting, firstly, to have a government instead of a king or a any royals in that sense. It would be new to that sense, and also it kind of would justify that, hey, as a government we're trying to think of the greater good. And also you could introduce a few characters who may or may not be pulling the strings, more of a hierarchy within the Saiyans, because we don't know if Kaba is the strongest. I personally find it weird if he isn't the strongest, because of the fact that Vados recruited the strongest amongst of Universe 6, because it was a big deal. So you could think to yourself, okay, there's a little government up there, or less, even if there is a king, they're weaker, but they're manipulating certain information that's being put out. Remember, their job is to eradicate evil within the universe 6, that is. They're like heroes. However, what if they actually thought they were heroes, but and they actually are heroes, but the people that they've been forced to take care of or eradicate, or the villains in their case, are actually good guys, but they've just been given the wrong story completely. So that could be one thing, and that could show and justify Kaba's delusion, and also highlight the fact that, hey, these main elites in Universe 6, they're actually really damn evil, and what the hell is the agenda? And this is where, as you said earlier, the mirroring will just be very accurate. Initially we thought Frost is a good guy, and we kind of wanted him to be a good guy, but then he's like, okay, he's like Frieza. Champa is the exact same character as Beerus. Whis and Vados, I don't think you can compare them, but if you do want to compare them, it's the same bloody character. So from these examples, there's not many examples. You could say by default, okay, Whis, Vados same, Champa, Beerus same, Frost, Frieza same. Why shouldn't the Saiyans also be the same, even if there is a bit of if they are essentially a wolf in sheep's clothing. But yeah, I think it's a very, very likely possibility that somehow the Saiyans are not as good as they think. They're not doing the good that they think they are, or maybe they're just completely lying and just Kaba's just a stupid idiot.
Well, yeah, like that's my thought process as well. I mean, you can't really, honestly, there's no way that we can compare like single individuals besides that of like Champa, Beerus, Frost, and Frieza, and maybe even Whis and Vados if you want to go that far. But they basically all seem like the exact same people to a degree. The thought is like, you know, you can't necessarily, if you can't necessarily compare individuals, you can also compare motives and logic. I mean, there's very little, and to me, whether this is true or not, the one thing we need as a community, as a fan base, is for them to go to Planet Sadal and get an idea of if they are good, why are they good, or if they're evil, like how would that kind of give some depth into how Saiyan society was, or how it's been kind of these people have been manipulated, undereducated, all this other stuff, and give some depth to like what Vegeta's been saying this entire series, how this community worked, also why these people haven't used the God ritual if they are supposedly all good, and why they had no idea about Super Saiyan, or maybe like to feed into what we've been saying, if for whatever reason Kaba is like a very strong, you know, prodigy of a fighter, but he's not royalty and he doesn't have those privileges of knowing that stuff, maybe they don't know about it. Maybe they don't know about Super Saiyans and stuff because they're not privileged to it. They're not educated. They're not any of this other stuff. They're just kind of soldiers for hire, as he was kind of talking about. You know, he fought alongside Frost and all this stuff. So to give some depth, either way, whether they're good, we get to see more about the Saiyan heritage, the culture, and get an idea of like why they don't know this stuff. Or if they're bad, it gives us an idea of probably why they never achieved this stuff. Or you know, giving an idea of the mythology, giving a reason as to why, giving a reason either way as to why there's a Super Saiyan God and all this other stuff. And one of the things I would want, even if they're good, personally, like I said, this is a little bit off topic, but I just want to say, like, if they're good, like legitimately good, I want there to be a reason that helps within it explain why there's Super Saiyan God. I made a video about this a while ago, but explain why there's a Super Saiyan God in Universe 7, but not Universe 6, and it has something to do with the fact that the Saiyans are evil and their attachment to the gods or something, which brings out their transformations, their metamorphoses, and all this other stuff. So I'm just saying, like, that's just one of those things I was thinking about. These like, it would be interesting if he didn't know any better and he thought he was bad, or he thought he was good, but they're really bad. Or even if they're good, be really interesting to see why they're so different.
I think one interesting thing, and you know, before I continue, I do want to, let's say, give a spoiler alert. I'm sure you guys know about the new arc that's been announced, which is essentially titled the Space Survival Arc. Yes, draw the parallels with GT. Now, in all seriousness, and I'm not doing this to troll or take the piss, but they could, by going to Planet Sadal, they could easily draw the parallels, or just borrow the story aspects that was introduced in the Broly movies. You could have a paradox-like figure, and you could even maybe have a certain Saiyan who may emulate the characteristics of Broly. But that's one of the things which they could do to really increase the depth, introduce someone like a paradox-like figure who is doing things behind the scenes. He would really fit in as this ideal king or this ideal ruler of Planet Sadal. Just give him the characteristics that we saw of Paradox, who is very controlling, or he chooses very carefully what information to put out and who to tell and who not to tell. Like, look at what he did with Vegeta. He was very specific to tell him the information regarding the new planet Vegeta, etc., and how he was able to control Broly. So I think Planet Sadal, and just its introduction and the lore it can provide, also knowing its culture, is an excellent opportunity to take from movies such as Broly Second Coming, okay, not that, but you know, the Broly movies and just use it. Because look, Dragon Ball Super, in all seriousness, has just been taken it's just been a nostalgia trip. Of course, it's been different and special in its own way, but at the same time, where it can take, it's taken. It's taken from Dragon Ball, it's taken from Dragon Ball Z, and from the future arc, it does look like it's going to take from Dragon Ball GT heavily, but that's just me speculating, and I really would like for them to introduce this Broly-esque aspect, paradox aspect to this potential lore, this potential explanation when explaining the Universe 6 Saiyans, whether they're evil, whether they're good without knowing that they're doing evil things, if their heart is good, if their heart is actually pure evil. It will be very interesting. Very, very interesting.
I completely agree, and especially with the Broly thing, it would be actually interesting if they're evil. Yeah. And I know the baseball episode kind of scuffles this a little bit, because why would it happen after so much time has passed? But a whole lot of time has passed. But anyway, like, if they were to retcon this, and it'd be really interesting if Kaba goes back, and it'd be easy to kind of like, oh, he was doing this or something, and then he finally went back, because Saiyans don't necessarily live on their home world. Maybe it's kind of the same as it was for Universe 7 with the Bardock manga, Dragon Ball Zero. That came out, but
no, they could do something very easy, whereby, as you said, just to jump off on that point about, let's say, what if Saiyans don't really live on their planet, whatever. So what if Kaba goes back to his planet and sees, okay, there's this group of Saiyans who've come back from this supposed heroic mission, but they're like the main, most evil group, and that could easily be a cheap way to introduce a new villainous rule in Planet Sadal.
That's what I'm saying too. Like, it would be really cool to me if, say, you have Kaba kind of come in there, and he is essentially, he shows off his new power. He kind of wants to explain it to everyone, trying to show them his concept of how he was able to achieve such strength and heights and all this stuff, because he is he's probably, if not the strongest, one of the strongest people that Vadas was able to find for whatever reason. I mean, she's somewhat omnipotent as this angel being that was supposed to be able to find the strongest Universe 6 fighters. But I mean, all this stuff is like pretty easily retconned. My thought is what if he goes back, he shows this concept, he shows the whole Super Saiyan thing, and he's not treated like a hero, it's not treated anything like that. He's like literally imprisoned and treated terribly for his power.
Experimented, tortured.
Yeah, like they don't understand it, or they understand it and they feel like there's some kind of a, because the original Super Saiyan mythology that Vegeta was spouting out was unruly, unreasonable, uncontrollable, destructive power. Something that for the Universe 7 Saiyans was something to be revered and something to be expressed. But if Universe 6 Saiyans are good, it kind of fares with maybe they are fearful of it. Maybe that is a symbol of evil to them. Maybe or if they're bad, then it's something that they fear could topple their whatever power or community or domain that they have actually been able to achieve, and all this kind of stuff. Every like their house of cards starts falling down because people aren't supposed to know about this. He's not educated, all this other stuff. So my point is this is probably, everything we're saying is probably way too far advanced and kind of out of Dragon Ball's league to actually throw in there. I'm just saying it'd be actually really interesting to see them actually try to do something of this nature, of this caliber, for the story when they actually kind of visit Planet Sadal. That would be really cool.
And for them to visit Planet Sadal, and this is more out there once more, you could have Kaba essentially emulating. This is for a mini transitional episode, mini filler arc per se. You could have Kaba coming to planet Earth, asking Vegeta and Goku, please help me liberate my planet. And essentially they're taking from Future Trunks' storyline, but they could absolutely easily just work that in, but it's probably not so likely.
and also another thing is, like, if they're not good, another potential awesome story concept is Vegeta's gonna have to deal with the fact that he was compared favorably from Kaba. Basically, everyone's concept is Kaba is Vegeta's somewhat protege at this point, kind of a student master thing, and he was compared to being, he had the king's qualities. He was like a king. He was like the king, and to see for Vegeta to face someone who's despicable, but also kind of this large and in charge, spouting off nonsense. Kind of like he sees his father in this man. and he has to deal with that. Someone who he's revered for the majority of his adult life. That would be interesting too. Like that, I'm just like, there's so many possibilities here, stuff that we haven't touched on. And one thing I would really like for anyone who's listened is to go into the comment section below and tell us whether you think they're good or not. And if they're good, what things would you want to see from a peaceful, loving Saiyan culture, but also like a bad, secretly evil, the same way this heel turn they did with Frost in the Universal Tournament. Like, what would you like to see from that type of culture, and what kind of story concepts or opportunities are there just to behold? And Dimizy, do you have any more that you want to say? I mean, like, we rattle them off, man. We just,
Yeah, the only thing I'll say is I know it's a really, really unexpected and unlikely situation, but just think about it. And you know what? Comment down below how you would write it, because I'm really interested to see people's opinions and how they would actually write the story of Super. But other than that, nah, that's about it.
Oh, man, I honestly, like, that was like a lot more creative than I was, like, just kind of a speculation. But it kind of came to this, like, where the story could go and weaving in all that type of conversation. Man, that was really a nice, like, honestly, I hope everyone enjoyed that. If y'all are listening to this, I hope you enjoyed it just as much as I did. But I just want to say, Dimizy, thanks for joining me on this video.
Anytime.
Anyway, guys, I want y'all all to go check out Dimizy's channel. He makes some really good content. He's being a lot more consistent these days, so y'all should really go check him out. Makes really interesting Dragon Ball content, dabbles in Digimon and Yu-Gi-Oh! From time to time, so please go check him out. And please, if you haven't already, make sure to rate, comment, subscribe here, and we're going to catch y'all in the next video.
Bye.
Bye.